You run your own business, but can't get over a certain hump. This pudding might get you frequent flyer miles, but it'll take a month to redeem. Your sisters are the bane of your existence, but hey, they're family. And you're alone. All alone. But today's different. That girl's different. Today might be the day it all changes. Let's put on a suit, grab the harmonium, go to Hawaii, and let the music in. This is Punch Drunk Love.
Grab the harmonium.
Let's grab it.
I love it.
Yeah, man. All right, let's introduce this damn thing. Welcome to Movies That Changed Us. I'm Altaf.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're going to explore how Punch Drunk Love changed us. If you're listening to us on Spotify, then you can also watch us on YouTube at Movies That Changed Us.
And we also have a functioning Patreon if you want to go check it out. It's on patreon.com/nicedudemovie night. We'd love to have you around. You also get early access and ad-free videos.
It's a party. This was like a last-minute change to do this movie on the podcast. We were going to do another movie. Can I say what it was?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we were going to do Shrek. Now, Shrek is a movie we both grew up with. And we were both like, hell yeah. And when I sat down and watched Shrek, I feel like I'm going to disappoint a lot of millennials right now. But I was like, oh, it's fine.
You didn't feel the same enthusiasm that you thought you would feel.
Now, part of me feels like Shrek has now become more than a movie. It's become like a culture. It's become very much like the outside of the internet meme and the movie itself. It's just become this artifact that everyone's like, Shrek, a masterpiece, grade A. People say it as a joke. And I think there was a lot of that weight on me. And so I was like, listen, I'd be down maybe to do in the future, but like right now, I don't feel like this is the movie I really feel like, oh, this movie changed me and I feel like I can talk about it passionately.
Yeah, no.
But so I was like, what other movie could we do? We've been doing the Adam Sandler, like Happy Madison Classics commentary tracks on our Patreon. We had at the time just recorded the Billy Madison one. So go check out our Patreon. It's going to be there.
Yeah, you can check it out at patreon.com/nicedudemovie night.
Yeah, and the commentary tracks are available on the $5 tier. So if you're interested, we're doing the Happy Madison Classics.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do Punch Drunk Love. Not only will it be like a good transition with the Patreon commentary tracks, but I mean, that movie's an important movie for me. And I know you like that movie.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So we just switched it on last minute.
Yeah, pretty much. We switched it like 3 days ahead of time or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is my first time rewatching it in probably over a decade at this point.
Had you only seen it one time?
I think in full, probably me. I want to say yes, just to be safe, but maybe I did watch it more than once.
Yeah.
But I've heard about it for a while. You know, I know a lot of people that like that movie, and I've watched clips from it on YouTube and heard people kind of analyze it a little bit. So it's been in my stratosphere for a while, but I've probably only solid watched it twice.
This is an interesting watch for me because I've rewatched it now a lot, but I found it a little bit later. Like I actually watched the whole thing for the first time in probably like college or something like that. But the way I heard about it for the first time is Adam Sandler's been a big part of my life, like forever. He's like my dude. You know what I mean? I'm a Sandman for life. I'm like a defender of all of it.
You say Sandman a lot. Is that a real phrase his fandom uses, or did you make that up?
No, he jokingly calls himself the Sandman a lot.
Okay. I was just curious if that was, you know,
like,
I've heard you say it before.
Yeah, he's in a semi-joking way, he's referred to himself as the Sandman in a lot of interviews. It's something that I've adopted.
Mr. Sandman.
I've also been a huge defender of his recent like comedy Netflix movies too. Like I'm a diehard, you know? And so I was in high school, and probably freshman year of high school is when for the first time I had Netflix. You know, and this was like early Netflix, post DVD Netflix era. They were still doing it, but now it's streaming. So
like 2012 territory when Netflix was just starting to become a normal streaming service.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember like getting Netflix for the first time, but it was this like crazy thing that it's like, this is like all available. Like it's just there.
Everyone was watching The Office and Breaking Bad. Basically, those are like the two huge Netflix shows at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, for sure. And like I was watching a lot of that 70s show because it was just like all of it's available. And the first thing I did when I got my Netflix is I looked up Adam Sandler. I just searched Adam Sandler because I just wanted to see like what movies he had is there. And then there were two movies that were on. It was The Longest Yard and Punch Drunk Love. Longest Yard I had seen, but Punch Drunk Love I didn't even know what it was. And for people wondering, like me being a cinephile and knowing Paul Thomas Anderson and his filmography, that side of my brain didn't really switch on until late college. Back then, I was just like, I watched movies a lot as a normal, like, everyday fan.
You were just putting shit on because you were just watching it as a normal Adam Sandler fan.
So when I saw Punch Drunk Love, saw him in the blue suit, I was like, oh, never seen this one. I'll put it on, and
Were you expecting like a comedy?
well, turned it on, and immediately the first shot is he's alone in the warehouse, like nervously talking on the phone. He's going outside, sees the harmonium, and the car crash happens, sees harmonium, talks to the girl. I was so off put and I was so uncomfortable that I shut it off like right after he has that interaction with Lena.
Okay.
I like just was like, what is this? And I turned it off. And the way I equate it to in my head, it's like seeing your dad cry for the first time, where you're just like, what's that?
That's not, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. You're not allowed to do that, Adam Sandler.
And I was like, I've never seen Adam Sandler look like this in a movie. I've never seen him in a movie that looks like this. The color palette, the cinematography, all of it. And I've never seen him do that. And it wasn't even like, oh, I'm impressed. It was like, this is too weird. I gotta turn it off. And
your worldview just collapsed on itself really quick.
And I didn't come back to it until much later, like I said, in college.
Okay.
So almost like 5-6 years later.
What made you come back to it?
Well, like I said, once I became more of like a cinephile and start to be like, oh, this is who Martin Scorsese is, and now I gotta watch his entire filmography, and this is who Tarantino is, and this is like,
got it. Okay.
When it became more of that, and I discovered like Paul Thomas Anderson, and I was like, oh, he did that Adam Sandler movie that I never checked out. I gotta watch this. I was a little bit older, and I had the right expectations going into it that I fell in love. And yeah, it's just like a lot of people, it's become like one of my favorites throughout the years. I don't rewatch it religiously, but like it's such a special movie.
Yeah. I mean, like rewatching it again, it definitely, because I first saw it when I was probably like 18 or 19. And watching it again now that I'm pushing 30 a little bit, it hits a lot different now. A lot of like kind of the anxiety that comes with it. I'm like, I understand a lot more of the emotions it was trying to convey, because I think when I first saw it, not like I wrote it off, but I just wasn't able to fully empathize with it. It's like, oh, what a weird, quirky character kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then watching it again, I'm like, oh, this person's like damaged. This is like a sad introduction to a character. And it's funny, don't get me wrong, the movie is very uplifting and really funny, and it is quirky and it's very weird. And I love a lot more of those brightness moments of it. But a lot of the darkness hit harder for me too.
Do you feel lonely?
In general, as a person? No. I don't. I'm pretty content with the company I keep. I think I do tend to isolate myself as a person, but I think it's more like, like I more want to participate in more things with people, but I don't feel lonely, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's a rambly answer, but you get what I'm saying? Like I do keep good company, but it's usually like a small, tight-knit group of people. But I just kind of want to get to know more people.
Because as long as I've known you, I wouldn't associate loneliness with you.
Yeah.
And like anyone, you have anxieties about stuff. Like you go through your own mental health struggles, like we all do in a certain level, But I've never seen loneliness from you. But I was curious because that's a lot of what this movie's about. When you watch this movie and you see the Barry Egan character, especially the way he's framed, the way the movie opens, like I said, he's alone taking a phone call, but he's all the way in the corner with a lot of space. The movie in a very cinematic way is expressing his loneliness. What do you get out of that? Is there a level like when you watch this movie? Because when I watch this movie, no shit, like a lot of people, I can just be like, oh my God, I feel you, buddy.
Yeah.
When you watch this movie, are you watching it with a little bit of like curiosity of like, okay, wow, like, or what parts of Barry do you feel like you can connect with?
Well, like I said earlier, I do habitually isolate myself. That is like a bad habit that I've learned that I tend to do, even going to therapy, that I'm trying to break out of a little bit. The main thing I learned going to therapy is that like what I've been told at least is I have a very good and active brain. Like my mind is, my imagination is constantly active, but I just need to put more work into my body doing stuff, And so I relate to the aspects of wanting to avoid people, like the overstimulation aspect. Like I do often feel overstimulated by people. And I think growing up, like I went to theater in high school. I was always like I was a drama kid. Even in middle school and elementary school, I was always a performative dude. I liked to wear costumes as a kid, and I was an expressive guy. And I think a lot of people assume, therefore, I'm really extroverted. You know what I mean? And often I'm, even growing up, and this is okay. This is not ill will towards my family, but I'm often the one that does the funny things in our pictures, or the ones like, oh, Chris will do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think I know what it feels like to be kind of overstimulated and want to be like left alone,
Yeah.
So I don't really get like lonely, but I like being left alone,
You find comfort in isolation, and you have to push yourself to get out of that.
I'm trying to get better at it for sure, but that is like that comfort zone. So I think in that regard, like when it comes to him going to his family and everyone just poking him and talking to him, and like I feel that overstimulation aspect.
When his sister tells him, well, when his sister Rhonda keeps calling him, telling him like, are you going to come to the party? Are you going to come to the party? And then his sister Elizabeth like just comes to his place of work.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you're going to come, right? It's like, I love what he says, which is, I think something maybe you can relate to, and what a lot of people can, which is just like, I don't think I'm going to be able to be myself there, which is so true. It's that like you end up like, at least for me, the loneliness aspect of it, you end up feeling so comfortable in your loneliness that that's what you know. And so like that's the only part of you know. So when you feel like, okay, now I have to interact with people, you suddenly feel like you're putting on a fake version of yourself.
Well, yeah, he has no sense of who he really is because the company he's kept growing up with his sisters don't respect his boundaries and don't actually respect who he is. So his self-image is so distorted, right? Like even when, he comes in, how they make fun of him for throwing the hammer through a window, was it?
Yeah.
And
through the glass door, how immediately they just focus on embarrassing him. And the part that always kind of broke my heart is when they asked what he was doing and he was building a doghouse. Yeah.
To me, I'm like, that's such a wholesome thing to do for a little kid, but they don't even really touch on that part, that he was doing something fair. Like, I wouldn't do that shit as a kid. Why would I want to build a doghouse? But he was doing that, but they were all focusing on, like, just embarrassing him, like the humiliating part of it, And so, like I said, his self-image is just, he doesn't want to be around people because he doesn't know what people are like, which he even says to the guy in the closet or something later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when he talks to, I think it's Elizabeth's husband, right?
Yeah.
When he's talking to like Walter, who like he's like, do you know any doctors I could go to? I need help. You're a doctor, right? And he's like, well, I'm a dentist.
I know. It was so sad.
By the way, that actor is played by Robert Smigel. Have you heard that name? Do you know who he is? So he is most famous for voicing the Triumph, the insult comic dog.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
On Late Night with Conan O'Brien, that like the puppet appeared. And, yeah. So you're familiar with him. So that's what he's most famous for. He was like a writer on SNL, but really, really big friend of Adam Sandler's. He is the lab teacher in Billy Madison.
Okay. Okay, I didn't process that.
He's the IRS agent in Happy Gilmore.
Okay, so he's like a frequent collaborator of Adam Sandler.
He's the Mr. Beefy, the bulldog in Little Nicky. Okay. So like it's I think what I'm getting at is just it's cool that it still feels like an Adam Sandler movie in that way, where it's just like, that's my buddy. I'm gonna put him in. I mean, Robert Smigel's more than just like a David Spade or Kevin James. He's like an iconic SNL like alumni.
Yeah.
But it just has that feeling that Paul Thomas Anderson still wanted to make an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, just like Adam Sandler. Like, hey, can I bring my friend into this one? Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Before we get into the like very deep themes of this movie, I kind of want to stay a little bit on the Adam Sandler part of it. Paul Thomas Anderson is like at a run where he's made Boogie Nights, he's made Magnolia, right? Boogie Nights is like this big debut. You love that movie.
I really do love Boogie Nights. It's a movie I would love to cover on this show at some point. We'll get to it. I don't know how long it'll take, but we will get to that movie at some point.
I'm curious, how old were you when you first saw Boogie Nights?
That's a good question. 18, 19, something like that.
Because the answer could have been I was 13 or I was 20.
I've seen a variety of movies growing up. Yeah, Boogie Nights I just happened to come across when I was in college, I think.
Yeah.
I want to say it was in college.
I'm always shocked at how young you are at consuming certain things. Yeah. But he does Boogie Nights. That's his, like, to use the Blank Check podcast parlance, that's his, like, guarantor. That's the movie that kind of gives him all the clout and money to do what he wants. Right? It's a huge hit. He made Magnolia. Magnolia is a super bloated 3 hour, some people consider masterpiece. I consider it's like fine. It's way too fucking long. But it's the movie where he's just like, now I get to do whatever I want. I'm gonna put Tom Cruise in my movie. I'm gonna tell this big ambitious story, take wild swings, and some people says it hits, some people says it misses, but whatever. He's still the guy who made Boogie Nights, and Magnolia was still a hit. I think. Correct me in the edit if I'm wrong, but he says in a quote that he watches Big Daddy, really loves Big Daddy. He said he like obsessively was then started watching all of his other movies because he was like, I need to like check out everything.
Yeah.
And he said on Adam Sandler, he's always just made me laugh. He just gets me. I wanted a piece of him. And you feel that Paul Thomas Anderson didn't just want to get Adam Sandler as this like weird, quirky choice to lead a drama movie. People haven't seen him in this before, so people be like, what's that? Is Paul Thomas Anderson wanted to make an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. He wanted to bring out an Adam Sandler specific.
And so he wrote this movie for Adam Sandler, tells Adam Sandler that like, hey, I'm writing something for you. And Adam Sandler like, oh, okay. Adam Sandler, like while he's shooting Little Nicky, like Paul Thomas Anderson comes, visits the set to talk to him and everything. You know who else is on that set? Tarantino to talk to him about Inglourious Bastards.
That's so funny. Like just Adam Sandler, like, guys, how the hell did I attract you?
Adam Sandler's hot property right now, right? He's coming off of like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, Big Daddy. Like this,
that dude is cranking out hits.
And like this is when people think of like peak Sandler. This is the era, right?
90s, early 2000s.
So both Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson is like, we got an idea. We'll put him in this, you know? Adam Sandler goes to check out Magnolia in a theater. Like after like a night of shooting Little Nicky, he goes to be like, I'll go see Magnolia in the theater just to see what this guy's about. Adam Sandler calls up Paul Thomas Anderson after seeing Magnolia. He's like, hey buddy, we're not doing any of that, are we? Gets like freaked out.
yeah, I don't want to do that. And he's like, no, this will be a little more low key, you know?
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing all this up is that I think what's so special about this is that it's not just like an auteur filmmaker working with like a comedian, you know? But it kind of reminds me of Lost in Translation in that way, where it's like Sofia Coppola understood what made Bill Murray special. And in that same way, Paul Thomas Anderson understood what makes Adam Sandler pop on screen.
Yeah.
This guy, there's no one better at getting angry and filled with rage better than him, because he's able to be funny while doing it too.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Adam Sandler is so good at being meek. And if you watch Adam Sandler in interviews, this is a guy who is like a multi-millionaire, extremely successful. He is confident, but like when he's doing interviews and talk shows and stuff like that, he always has this like way about him where he's like, yeah, I don't know how he's just doing that.
He's a really chill guy in real life.
And he always, like, anytime someone compliments him, he's like, oh, thanks, buddy, but you're funny too, you know, like, it's okay, you know, it's good. He's always trying to be like volleying it back. He's never like, he's bad at taking compliments, you know, and it just like, it understands that aspect of Adam Sandler too.
Yeah.
And so when I watch this movie, it's so special in that way. It's not just like Adam Sandler did a serious role, but it's still like you're watching what he's good at, but in a different light.
Yeah. I mean, like Uncut Gems brings that out of him too. I think that's why both of those performances are so special, you know?
Yeah.
And they're both completely different characters, don't get me wrong, but still, like you said, no one's better at being like angry and high-strung and nervous.
I mean, who else could like do that role where he has a bloody nose, has a napkin in his nose, and he sees that guy in the camera? Is like, this guy.
Oh, this fucking guy. Do not let him in. Just ignore him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
talk about like how when you watched this when you were 18 or 19, did you have that feeling of like, oh shit, this is Adam Sandler? Like, what was that?
Yeah, I knew that going into it. So I was told a lot that's like his, you know, like, oh no, he's actually a really good actor. You should watch Punch Drunk Love. So I expected it. I didn't have that surprise attack like you had. So I was ready for that. And it was really cool to see him do like an actual role. You know, it's always kind of exciting when you see like your favorite comedic actors do something dramatic. Yeah. Like Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, exactly. So it was surprisingly heartbreaking too, just because his character is so like you feel so bad for him all the time.
Well, you texted me where you were like, dude, I forgot how sad the setup of this character was.
I know it is. It's just so like, and I think a lot of the way his emotions are conveyed are mostly through the filmmaking too. Like it complements his character so well. And
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, it's very Scorsese in that way of just like the camera is moving in a subjective way from like it's how Barry sees the world. The when the shutters open in the warehouse, during the opening of the movie, the light is so fucking bright. And even like when he's inside the warehouse and you see the light from the outside, it's like overblown.
yeah, yeah.
And I obviously mentioned how so often when he's framed alone and there's so much space. And then as the movie goes along, he gets closer and closer to people. Like when he's in that airplane, like smudged up next to the guy.
Yeah, yeah. And he like talks to him on his own. He's like, I've never been on a plane before.
And then the whooshing noise starts. He's like, what was that noise?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as well, like the lighting too is so strong. Like every time that there's like a light bulb or anything in frame, it's like blaring. It's like goes hardcore lens flare on you, basically.
Yeah. Well, everything's loud. Everything is big.
Yeah.
There's a great essay that's available with the Criterion like box set for Punch Drunk Love, which is beautiful. It's if you guys are considering like if you guys like physical media and are considering getting like the Blu-ray, I highly consider the Criterion one.
You have it, right?
I have it.
Do you want to go get it and show it?
Yeah.
All right, guys, hang on. We got a little awkward lull here. Oh, it's right there. Okay, I thought he'd have to dig around for it, but it was just chilling right there. You didn't think to bring this on? You're like recommending it, having it.
I forgot. But this is it. I'll right here. It's the shot of her hugging him at the end.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And there's a booklet inside where it's an essay by like Miranda July, and she talks about her experience watching that movie for the first time and writes brilliantly about it.
That's cool.
But something she says is loud, like for Barry and me, she talks about how she connects to the story. For Barry and me, everything's very loud. Everything's very big. And that's the thing I wrote down in my notes is that the movie expresses loneliness as very loud.
Yeah.
So she points out how like all the noises of the trucks are just like so big. And like the when the music starts, it's so chaotic. The music is done by John Bryan, I think I have it right here. Yeah, John Bryan. And I hate to say it, but the music's a character.
No, it is. Yeah. I know, right? There's certain like bingo cards of like podcast movie phrases that we try to avoid.
I know.
But this one we kind of are cornered into it. The music is very much a character though. You're not wrong.
But that was another thing when I was watching this movie for the first time on Netflix all those years ago. The music put me off too. I was like, what is it? It was just like a very raw.
Yeah, it was really weird. You were expecting like a quirky Happy Madison movie.
Yeah. And so all of that, it's like so much. And I feel that's what I love about it, with the music, with the lighting, with the framing of all the shots. A simple interaction as like him interacting with this girl who wants to give him these keys, or later when his sister brings that girl over and they're just having a conversation. It is the most chaotic and nerve-wracking thing you've ever experienced.
Yeah, and you kind of sympathize with him finding safety and being alone and in the dark a little bit.
For him, a simple conversation is like an action sequence.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Like when he first meets Lena and she gives him the keys, you later find out she was like kind of stalking him, which I love. Not in like I love as like, oh, that's so cute or whatever, but I love that they show love as a little bit of a messy thing in this movie.
Yeah,
like,
that both of them are weird, basically.
Both of them are weird. It's kind of dangerous, you know? But when they meet and he gives her the keys, like, yeah, I'll hold on to it. And he's pretty chill. He has his thermos. And when she walks away, he immediately is like, oh.
Yeah. Just every interaction is just the most stressful thing he's ever experienced.
But at least the way I read it too, it's like he felt something there, and the emotion of like feeling like an attraction to someone was a lot.
Yeah, it's instinctively like a threat to him.
Yeah, because he like the people that say that they love him in his life are also threats to him.
Yeah, they're the people who treat him the worst. The people who are nice to him are like his coworkers. You know what I mean? Like they're just the casual chill people. He doesn't have anyone that's like close to him that's actually kind to him.
That's why I love Luis Guzman in this movie.
Yeah, I know, he's such a like cool, likable dude. He's like, oh, that's wonderful, Barry, you're going out of town.
But he's what I like about him too, and the reason why Barry likes probably working with him is that he's not overbearing.
No, not at all. That's the thing. He's even like when he says he's gonna fly to Hawaii, how he doesn't remotely get stressed about work or anything like that. He's just happy for him immediately.
And also he's kind of inspired by Barry's like work ethic. Like when the thing that's interesting about this movie is that today's the when you watch the movie, today's the day he decided to wear a suit.
Yeah. So, the suit's like new to everyone throughout.
Which I love. I love when a movie makes it a choice to be like, no, we're dropping you into this story today for a reason.
Yeah.
Today, everything's a bit different. Like I said in my synopsis, he decided to wear a suit. He picks up the harmonium. Things are changing. But like, I do love the tiny touch of the next day he comes into the office. Luis Guzman's also wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Like he kind of inspired him a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
And there is something about Barry in that way of just like what he has this work ethic and he wants to make something of himself. And that is the thing that I can connect to so hard is that in life, when you feel stuck, when you feel lonely, not all people are just immediately like, okay, well, this is my life. You want to move forward, but you can't. I think Bo Burnham said this when he was promoting 8th grade. He said, people who are shy and lonely don't act shy and lonely. They try to be social, but they cannot get themselves there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like in that sense, like Barry deciding to wear a suit, Barry like running a business, it's like, I'm trying, but it's so fucking loud in here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I definitely connect with those aspects too. Even just down, like when you said the shutter doors open and the bright light, I know that feeling of staying inside from working on YouTube stuff all day. Like you and I work fairly isolating jobs just by its nature because we're just on our computers all the time. And I know how it feels to be inside all day and then step outside and be like, oh, fuck, it's bright out. Why? There are people.
Well, also, I feel like you especially have externalized it to me a lot of how you'll talk about how your day's going. And you'll be like, yeah, it was good, but then this person called me, and I'm like, just shut the fuck up for a second. Just shut the fuck up for a second. And it's like, that is Barry when he's like punching like the wall and he's just like fucking angry because it's just like, I'm trying, just shut the fuck up for a second.
Yeah, exactly. And, you get like the strongest taste of it once he goes to that party, obviously. Also, like another really sad touch too, as well. Obviously, like I said, they were making fun of him for, saying, oh, we used to call you gay boy. And, they brought up him throwing the hammer.
Well, him opening and closing the door.
Oh, yeah, he hears it immediately and just can't even bring himself to come in because he just knows how awful this is going to be. And then he brought like a little cake too. And they just tell me, oh, there's already cake. They didn't even thank him.
And it's like a much bigger cake, too.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that they don't even acknowledge it, like he's any of the kind-hearted things that he has, because he's such like a harmless guy, but they exploit that for their own kind of entertainment. What
I find interesting about the family, that it's not all the way Roald Dahl to me, where they're these evil people. It's very realistic in the sense of like your family feels like sometimes they have the right to make fun of you and be mean to you because, hey, we still love each other. It's that moment where Elizabeth and Lena are talking on the phone when Lena's in Hawaii with Barry. And Lena's like, yeah, he is weird. And Elizabeth on the other side, who's been antagonizing Barry, who is like in his face all the time, is like, well, he's not weird. Why would you say that? I mean, I could say he's my brother, but like,
yeah.
So it's that feeling of like, they think it's like, oh, it's sibling love. This is nothing. It's just, we just love each other. And that's why we care about Barry. So we want him to come to the party. We care about Barry. So he should talk to this girl, but they are going about it in the
most toxic way possible, basically. But I see them as toxic people personally,
but for them, it's like, for them, they're doing it out of love. And so it's fascinating to me because like that's very real.
Yeah, like you said, they're not Roald Dahl people, but I think to me it clearly comes from a place of like control. You know what I'm saying? Of like they really, because like to me, they just don't want Barry to spread his wings. They very much make an effort to clip his wings at all times. And so it's like even with the people they date, they have to be the ones to show him. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you, if he found someone on his own without his family being involved in it, they would probably shit on his girlfriend.
Well, that's why what's perfect about it is when she brings Lena to the warehouse. He's like, no, I can't come out to eat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then he goes back to the office and everything, and she's like, oh, it's okay. I'm gonna head out. And then she's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. You probably wouldn't even want to go out with him anyways. He's being really weird. I don't know why he's wearing that blue suit. And then she like turns around and like beelines towards Barry again.
Yeah.
And Barry's on the phone with this hotline and everything. And she's like in his face. It gives me like goosebumps talking about it because I'm like, I fucking hate that shot.
Oh, yeah.
That moment where like she turns around and just goes to him.
Yeah, dude. And while like he's being threatened by this phone sex hotline.
But what I love about it is that the interaction goes wrong and it doesn't go the way the sister wants it to go with Lena, right? But when the sister leaves, Lena is about to get in her car, but then she decides to turn around and ask Barry herself.
Yeah.
And the connection's right, but the situation is wrong. And she decides that, like, I like him. I'm going to go for it. And Barry's like, okay, sure. Yeah. And it's just like, the sister just being there is so much for him that he can't even see the love.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, it's, I think Miranda July in her essay said that it's just like, why can't, like, I'm tired of like it always having to be the guy in movies to have the courage to make the move. If the girl wants to go for something, she should be able to go for something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and their interaction is so sweet when Barry gives her the number. But then what I also love about it is that Barry has this such a like lack of belief and trust in anyone and in himself that he lies about every single aspect to her.
Yeah.
He lies about the pudding. He lies about the sister stories. He lies about everything.
Which gradually those layers come down as the movie progresses. He starts being more honest with himself and confronting his own behaviors too.
The first time he tells the truth to her is when they're in bed together in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And he said, I smashed that bathroom.
Yeah.
That's the first time. And it's just like love gave him the power to overcome
You'd be vulnerable.
and to be vulnerable, but to also tell the truth.
Yeah.
And to be honest with himself. And
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. To trust someone else with this information that he won't get hurt for being vulnerable. Because that's kind of the whole thing he's experienced throughout his whole life is that anytime he opens up, his family all talks about it amongst themselves. You know, when he opened up to, what's his name? Walter.
Yeah.
About, you know, wanting to get a shrink. Remember how like immediately it's like, oh, did you ask Walter to get you a shrink? What about this? And she just says shit loudly in work, like saying, by the way, this whole thing about a shrink, you know. And so his privacy and his boundaries are never respected. And so him to put that trust in someone else, you know what I mean? For a moment when he just actually opens up and says, I smashed up the bathroom and isn't like crushed or embarrassed about it. You know, I mean, he's embarrassed, but he's like opening up about it, you know?
yeah. And I think the sorry, complete your thought. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, it's a really cool character development moment for him, you know, that, and like you said, it's effective that she went to him and asked, you know, asked to go on a date with him because it's someone else finally giving him the time of day. You know, just as a person without wanting to control him or be attached. She just wanted to hang out with him and have a conversation with him.
Yeah, I know. And like he feels comfortable around her.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like you said earlier, it expresses a lot of its like big themes and ideas cinematically. And a lot of it is shot in real time, it feels like when there are big sequences where multiple things are going on, where he's getting a phone call, his sister's coming in with the girl, or he has to or someone in the warehouse is crashing something. It's usually in one or two shots. It's like these big oneers and it's happening in real time. And the biggest example of that is when he's at home alone and he calls the hotline.
Yeah. That was like one long uninterrupted shot right there.
The only time it cuts is when it finally cuts to the girl, like when the phone cuts to the girl and then it cuts to a close-up of Barry. But the shot that I think about all the time is that obviously he's closing the blinds while he's on the phone. He's giving the phone number. And a lot of this way of talking, like Barry has his own way of speaking where it feels like he always has two trains of thoughts at the same time and he can't decide which one goes first. Even when he's talking to Lena, he's just like, so are you guys getting pancakes? How often have you been working with my sister? Like he just says those two things at the same time.
He's just kind of just throwing everything out there, just going by his emotions.
Yeah, and I heavily relate to it. I mean, there's been many moments where you and I have like had business meetings or like where we're setting up something and I'm trying to like express something to you, but it's I think with the anxiety of like having to do something on time, my thoughts get very jumbled up all at once.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you many times have been like, all right, one at a time.
I try to pick up the pieces a little and make it make sense. And I'm like, okay, so you're feeling this way.
But
You know.
he's doing the same thing on the phone, that way of speaking, and he sits down, waits for the call back, and we wait with him. I
Yeah.
can't stress how important that is, that we are, as the audience, we're waiting with him. That
In his
doesn't,
shoes while he's just staring at the phone.
the patience and confidence that takes as a filmmaker to do that
Yeah.
is amazing. Like, I don't see that often. Like, he has his phone on the table and he's just there sitting. And think about this too. This is the first time like an audience is seeing Adam Sandler do something like this.
I know. And
So all of it is uncomfortable.
yeah, you feel his nervousness because he's doing something, that's fairly taboo, right? Calling a phone sex hotline because he's lonely and just looking to get his rocks off, whatever. But so that feeling of like hanging up and just waiting for the lady to call him, I get it, being put in those shoes.
He wants it to happen quick. He doesn't want to have to think about it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to think about what he's doing or feel the shame of it or the embarrassment. He just wants to kind of get it over with.
But what I love about it is that when he finally gets connected with her, like, for him, the fantasy is just genuine intimacy that is not sexual in any way.
Yeah,
like
it's not super vulgar.
For him, the ultimate fantasy is to be able to just talk about his day and his business with someone.
Yeah.
Like the way he's like, and I'm very proud of my business. So where are you from? Like he's just
looking to diversify.
and she's just like, are you horny, baby? Are you stroking it? Like and he's like, I don't know what to doing right now.
I know. And it's also like there's another added layer of stress because you know how sketchy it is too, because as soon as they ask for his
credit card number,
it was credit card number, which is probably normal, but as well as his social security number too. That's the one where you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I know.
He even says like, why do you need my social? And they're like, oh, because of verify with the bank. When it's clearly just to track him down and threaten him and shake him down, but they're exploiting clearly lonely guys.
Yeah.
And so there's another added layer to that too. As the conversation goes, you're like, oh, don't do this, Barry.
I also love that it's like a one shot going back and forth because you can kind of get a sense of like this guy's apartment, his furniture. You can tell like the set design of it all was so well thought out. And like when he goes to sleep after the phone call, you see like some like running shoes in the corner and like a water bottle and like they thought about everything. It's such a simple movie, but they thought about everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very distinct choice to have it be like a long, uninterrupted shot, right? I mean, it does cut like a couple times, but the lengthy shots kind of, it's telling the audience to sit in it along with him. You know what I mean? If it like cut to random little pieces of decor, it's like the movie's way of like showing you more shit, so you're staying stimulated.
Yeah,
but
and
the fact that it just stays with him, like you said, when he hangs up and you're just waiting with him, you feel like you're in his shoes of just doing this thing.
And you never know what's coming with the shot design too. Like when he's on the phone call with her and he sits down on the couch, the camera suddenly is like this overhead right on top of him.
Yeah.
And then when he like pushes forward, the camera kind of like, it feels like a handheld shot where it kind of goes back in a jittery way.
Yeah.
So and who knows? I didn't look it up. That could have been a mistake that they kept and it worked, but that could have also been intentional to give you that sense of like, again, it feels very Scorsese-like to just have that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like where to jump to from here.
Well, I have something I want to talk about. I mean, what's the name of the instrument again? It feels stupid.
Harmonium.
The harmonium. Because like I remember I even asked early on in the movie, like, what is that instrument? Because it's not a piano, it's not a keyboard. It has like funkier sounds than that. It's not an organ.
Well, he didn't know it was called a harmonium either.
Yeah, until the girl called it that.
Yeah, Lena's like, did you steal a harmonium? He's like, what? It's like the piano.
Yeah, and he's like, harmonia. But what do you see the meaning of the harmonium as? Because like, obviously there's something there, right? We touched on it, how it's like things are changing.
Like I said, it feels very much today's the day. It feels like fate has decided for Barry, today's the day.
Yeah.
So he goes outside sees the car crash happen. This like pretty bombastic like car stunt.
Yeah, it gets loud as hell all of a sudden, you know, and you see him reacting like genuinely
I
afraid.
watched this movie 2 times this week to prep for this podcast, and both times I forget how loud it is and I have to turn down my remote. And then after the car accident, the car comes in, drops the harmonium off.
Yeah.
It's like saying two things at once, right? At least this is the way I read it. And you can probably see video essays about this or whatever. The way I personally always read it was like the car crash is like his life is about to get more chaotic than he's prepared for. But at the same time, there's going to be a love in his life that's going to give him the courage to fight it. And the harmonium expresses that music, that love, that journey. And the car crash is like the Philip Seymour Hoffman, like, you know, of it all. At least that's how I always viewed it.
I definitely got that emotionally. I think my interpretation was a little more broad, where I saw it as more of like, if beauty can come out of chaos, kind of. Like the only way you can really experience the pleasures or whatever you want to call it, you know, the beauty of life, the connections you make, is like by going out and experiencing things.
Well,
you know?
that's very key for this movie. Yes,
exactly. And so I think, you know, him taking the harmonium despite a car accident is like kind of a way of demonstrating that like unpredictable shit happens. Life takes you in weird directions you're not going to like all the time, you know, but it's necessary to feel fulfilled.
The thing that I'm holding on to from what you said is going out and having to experience things, like really pushing yourself, like the thing that you said earlier, like sometimes you like to talking about that you like to isolate yourself and you have to actually work towards like, I got to put myself out there.
Yeah.
And that's where this whole like frequent flyer miles thing aspect of this comes. Apparently this was based off like an article that like Paul Thomas Anderson read. That's where he lifted this idea from, of the healthy choice providing this coupon. And I love the risky feeling that Barry gets. Like he feels like he's getting away with something.
He's cheating
here.
something.
Like when he like leans into Lena and he's just like, all right, so they got this deal going on. Like at first he doesn't want to say it just because it's too much. Like
yeah. He was like, I think they're really trying to promote the teriyaki chicken.
But see, I saw the pudding that was for $4.99.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting B story, but it's also like what I love about it is that, okay, when he realizes that she's going to Hawaii and he's like, I want to go to her, you think that's where the pudding stuff is going to pay off, right? But the fact that he can't redeem it, but he decides to go anyways. And like the moment he has where he's like, well, that's not going to work today. That's not going to rain today. Yeah,
he's being deliberate, I think is what you're kind of searching for.
Exactly. He's not waiting for a moment. He's like, I think his whole life he's felt like things are stopping me.
Yeah.
And this is the first time where he feels like, no. I can't lose this person. And what's stopping me? Pudding? I gotta fucking go.
Yeah. And that applies to anything, right? But he found something that he truly cares about and found meaning in his life.
So 2 shots that I love is when he decides to go to Hawaii and he is in the hallway with his boarding pass going to the flight attendant. What I love about it is that the camera is right behind the flight attendants and he's far away and the camera's staying very still. And you get this feeling of like, Barry, hurry the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, man, PTA is good at this shit because it's just like he makes you feel the distance and he makes you feel that like, Barry, this is urgent. You got to get to her.
Exactly. You feel the urgency. That's what I was going to say.
And I just think that's such a brilliant shot. It's so simple. The camera's just right behind the flight attendant. Barry's far away and he's like flicking his boarding pass and you just feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's simple and it's brilliant. And then the second shot that I love that like makes me want to like just clap is when he arrives to Hawaii and this man can't believe it. Like he can't, like he's just looking and he's seeing Smile and he kind of taps the side of it in the airport and he taps like the wall because he can't fucking believe he's here. And it's just like, because it's both like, I'm in fucking Hawaii. That line that he says where he's like, wow, this place really does look like Hawaii.
Yeah.
Where he's only seen it in postcards and pictures.
You ever been to Hawaii?
No.
I have. A couple times. I think I've been there like 4 times growing up.
Oh yeah.
It does look like Hawaii. Like that airport does feel like as soon as you step out and it's like it'll be November and you're like, wow, it's 80 degrees out.
Where have you been in Hawaii?
I've been to Honolulu, in Maui.
Maui.
Yeah, I think one other place, but I don't remember. I was young.
Yeah, I need to go. But like, would you say like the hype of it, like it lives up to the hype?
Yeah, it depends where you go. So there are different experiences. Like Honolulu is more of like a city touristy area, and Maui is more tropical. You know, it's more of like the authentic kind of out in the mountains and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Honolulu is more like, you know, surfing lessons and, you know, cool restaurants and bars and stuff. So they're just different, you know.
What I was thinking about when he arrived in Hawaii is like, this is such a personal story, right? This is about a guy like overcoming a lot and finding love. And it's such a small and personal story, but it feels so big.
Yeah.
And it's like when I mentioned the shot of him going to the flight attendant, it's such a cinematic like expression, especially when he finally gives a boarding pass and goes and the frame rate change and he's like going towards the light. And I'm like, it didn't need to be shot this way. It didn't need to look this way, but it does because it expresses his feeling and his inner feeling fully.
Yes, it's significant to him.
And I don't want to be the guy that's just like, movies like this, why aren't they made? Why aren't they shot like this? Why aren't they put out in theaters like this? But I feel like nowadays there's this feeling of like the movies that belong in the theaters are the event movies, right? They're the movies like Dune and Oppenheimer and these like, okay, these are the big movies.
The movies with the world's at stake, basically.
And this movie, funny enough, bombed in theaters, right? It underperformed, especially for an Adam Sandler movie at that time. But it was made for the screen, right? It was made for the big screen. Thomas Anderson is not like this blockbuster filmmaker, but he makes his movies for the big screen and he shoots his movies for the big screen. This movie's shot in anamorphic, and it's huge,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so something I think about is like, why can't Barry Egan's story? Why can't that guy be on a 50-foot screen? Why can't his story be the biggest story you've seen? And maybe you touch like 200 people in that room. Why does it have to be you go to Arrakis or not? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Why can't we be with this guy playing a harmonium in the warehouse and you can. Everyone in that room can see themselves in Barry. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's like the filmmaking is so big, like the way you're describing it. And yeah, on a surface level, he's not going and changing the world or saving people or doing any of that epic movie stuff. But it's big to him. Like he feels like he is changing the world. You know what I mean? Like he's by fundamentally putting himself out there and experiencing being with other people and loving someone and being loved back.
The best part about art is that you can see yourself and you can maybe understand yourself a bit better by listening to a song or like watching a movie or like going to a gallery and something moves you.
Yeah. I mean, think of how dramatic love songs are. And I will always, like,
I hate the feeling that we get now, which is like this movie belongs on Netflix and then this movie should be seen on a screen. Fucking like any movie should be in a theater. Like whether
it'll always be better in a theater.
Whether you have the means for it is different. Like if you can't afford going to the theater, fair enough. But then at the same time, like why are movie theaters so fucking expensive? Why are movies so expensive? Why aren't they like? Why do they all have to be $100 million? Why can't we just be with Barry for a little bit?
I know, we need those middle budget movies.
By giving the presentation to these small personal stories and making them huge, everyone in the audience watching it in this dark theater suddenly feels like, oh shit, other people feel like this too. Mm-hmm. And not only that, my story isn't just a TV movie or something to be watched on an iPhone. My story deserves to be put on screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I feel like when I watch Punch Drunk Love. I feel like, oh shit, other people feel like this too. And the fact that it was made with such care makes me feel like my story is important too.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing a group of like an audience laugh or cry or cheer with it feels like a shared experience.
And it also feels like, oh shit, you guys understand.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. We're all like everyone's together connecting with this story.
And listen, it's funny to say that about this movie because again, it didn't do well in theaters, but it was made for that.
Yeah.
At least they tried.
Yeah. At least they gave it the time of day to release in theaters.
You know, and it's and I think something that I think about often is Ted Sarandos did an interview that became kind of like infamous now, where he was talking about like, I don't understand the value of like where you watch it. content is content no matter where you watch it. Like my son watched Lawrence of Arabia for the first time on his phone, and he's an editor, and he loved it. And
It's such like ugh, it just grosses me out to hear.
and the Bilga Abiri, film critic for The Vulture, wrote, Lawrence of Arabia is a great movie. It can work on your in a theater screen. It can work on your TV. It can work on your phone. It can work on your laptop.
Yeah, no one's disputing that either.
It's going to be a great movie. But he said, but Lawrence of Arabia wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for a movie theater.
Yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia wouldn't be shot that way and made that way. And that's how I feel about Punch Drunk Love. Punch Drunk Love wouldn't be shot in anamorphic with these bright lights that overwhelm Barry without the existence of movie
With the
theaters.
loud music. Yeah.
You know?
Fuck yeah, I know. Yeah, of course. I know.
Now, I just wanted to put that out there because that feeling especially came out of me about like, man, look how this movie's shot. It's shot to be big. When he leaves the airport, goes to the phone booth, you know how he tells the driver, I want to go where the beaches are?
Yeah, and he's in a super crowded parade.
And apparently that parade was real. It was happening.
Oh, okay.
And right when Lena picks up, the drums start. And Paul Thomas Anderson, like, that wasn't planned. It was like the most beautiful, happy accident ever.
Oh, yeah, I was to say, that's perfect. That felt scripted.
But yeah, he finds her. But before that, he has the confidence to tell his sister to just be like, why do you treat me this way? You shouldn't treat me this way. Fucking give me her number.
Yeah, and then I love that he gets it too. That's always the funny part, because I was worried when I first saw it. Like, oh, is she just going to hang up on him and it's going to be all difficult? But I just love that she's like, okay, fine, gee.
Yeah, and it's slowly getting that power back. He's waiting for Lena at the Sheraton, sees her, and I don't understand how this movie does it again, but it just like gives me that feeling of like, fucking hurry up, man. He's waiting for you, both of you, please. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
yearning, and it's like, it's the editing, it's the music, it's all of it, but I feel it. She's wearing white, he's wearing blue, and he's about to go for the handshake, but they kiss, and it's that silhouette shot
Yeah.
of all the people walking by with the ocean in the background, but they're still and they're kissing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's they're in their own world while everything's moving.
It's such a cool shot. I know, it tells so much.
I mean, there's a reason why in like I think a theatrical poster of it,
That is the poster, yeah. I think like it works so much emotionally in terms of just their relationship with the world, and how, again, the fact that they're backlit and their silhouette, that they're both kind of together in the dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like they don't have to be out there, you know, whatever. It's not
But
like
they're sharing the darkness, yeah.
exactly that he found love in the dark. You know, it's really cool.
Also,
it's a really well done moment.
I don't know if it looks like it, but or if it's like shot this way. It's shot by Robert Elswit, genius cinematographer. He also shot There Will Be Blood. He also shot a Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, like,
Wow.
and I think Ghost Protocol as well. Like, he is just one of our best out there. I don't know if this was intentional by him, but a lot of the lighting feels natural in a way that, like, I don't think I've usually seen in Paul Thomas Anderson movies. Like, even when they're out by the beach where, like, on the table, like, after the kiss scene, you can see that, like, it feels like it's shot in natural lighting where it doesn't feel perfect in a way. I really like that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel tightly structured. It doesn't feel like a movie. But it has the unpredictability aspect, again, that it's like overwhelming for that character to deal with. You know, that outdoors and, you know, the world, Earth, you know, is unpredictable. You know, it's coming out of your cave.
Well, speaking of, soon after, he gets on a phone call with the people that we didn't even mention this whole sequence, but he got robbed. They took his money, and and then he calls back. He's like, I want that back, basically. And I think we can talk about Philip Seymour Hoffman a little bit here.
Yeah. He's so good in this movie.
He's our dude.
Yeah, well, he's also such a perfect antagonist for this character, because while Barry is so, obviously he's so meek and so at the mercy of other people, and his arc is him gaining that control back, the perfect threat to that would be someone who's so hyper controlling and antagonistic and intimidating. You know, who's so like, you know, he tells people like, oh, shut the fuck up, I'm doing this, and like kind of ripping off the people working for him, how they said they would get paid to, or they would get money so they can travel, and he's no, I'm not covering that expense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like someone who just makes other people at his mercy all the time.
But also at the same time, you have no idea what he's going to say and how he's going to say it. Like, he's always like, he's jittery. Like he's
very high strung.
And another reason why it makes him such a perfect match with Barry is the way I described it to you off mic was they both feel like different sticks of dynamite that you don't know when are going to go off.
Yeah, yeah.
When they like first get on that phone call, just an iconic scene.
They're both just screaming at each other.
He's like, calm down and shut the fuck up. What's your problem?
Yeah. But that's what I mean by that's the perfect person to really challenge Barry's insecurities, to really challenge, the fabric of who he is.
Well, it's the thing that I was saying. I'm just like with the harmonium in the car crash. I'm just like, he found the love in his life, and now that's gonna give him the power to fight someone like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, just Philip Seymour Hoffman saying shut up like 8 times in that scene is like fucking it just
he says it to everyone too. He says it to the girl that works for him.
Specifically that phone call where he's like, shut.
Yeah.
That's a great, I think I've mentioned this before, but if you guys are fans of Big Picture, if not, what are you doing? That's an amazing movie podcast. But the Big Picture did an episode called the Philip Seymour Hall of Fame, where they kind of just dedicated the entire episode to his work, and they did it recently. And Sean Fennessy, the host, mentioned how Philip Seymour Hoffman is like the perfect, like, I've said this to you many times. I might have said this on the podcast, but he's like a perfect like YouTube scene, a movie actor.
He's a perfect clip actor.
Because like a lot of people like just revisit his scenes on YouTube. And whether that's from
Big
Lebowski, or just what was I gonna say?
Along Came Polly.
Along Came Polly is another one, and there's so many scenes that we all like just revisit, and this is just one of them. And it's because he just like, I said this in our Big Lebowski podcast, but whenever he shows up in a movie, he like feels suddenly that he's immersed in that world and he's lived. Like when you see him as the mattress man and he's like watching this like concert go on or them setting up, his whole demeanor and his outfit, it
feels lived in. You feel like he's been there for a while. Like you get it. You know?
He's been doing this job and like you get it immediately.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I flail my arms every time I talk about him because it's just like, it's a magic trick when you see him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that dude's a chameleon.
He's also like a Paul Thomas Anderson stalwart. Like he, until he passed away, I'm pretty sure he was like in every movie that Paul Thomas Anderson did.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, he finds the courage. Well, first they come back.
They crash into his car while he's with Lena.
That car crash, I've never seen something like that.
It just happens so abruptly too, and it sucks because.
But I've never seen those two, the way it's shot too.
Yeah. No, totally. I felt so bad too because I was watching the scene, and I got a text from you. And I asked my girlfriend, I was like, hey, by the way, do you mind pausing real quick? And like right as she paused it, the car crash starts to happen. And I broke the whole fucking momentum of this scene.
Your girlfriend hadn't seen it too.
Exactly, yeah. So it was like, oh, sorry. I didn't realize the scene was coming up.
I mean, that's my bad. What did I text you about?
I don't fucking know.
Was it something stupid? Like, was it just like, Furiosa's failing?
Some short or something. No, I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
But yeah, the car crash happens, but he sees her bleeding, walks out, and just fucking nails them.
Yeah.
Now, okay, a few things here. One is like this movie is kind of a fantasy in a way. When you think about it too much, it's a bit unbelievable that he suddenly has all this power and courage to just beat these guys up and be so suave and cool and movie star with it. The way he flips that wrench and just does it, it's just not believable that Barry would do it. But this movie's more about like big ideas and big themes than it is about logic. Like you just go with it because you believe that Barry has a love in his life, like he says later, and then he has more power than you can imagine.
Yeah, exactly. It's the energy behind it, and you do. Yeah, maybe the suaveness of it is a little exaggerated, but that dude's prone to outbursts, and he's capable of that if he really like he uses his anger as a strength. You know what I mean?
Instead of letting it control him.
Exactly. Instead of treating it as like this embarrassing, shameful thing, he used it as like, oh, I can scare people if I wanted to protect people.
No, they go to the hospital. She doesn't know what the hell's going on, but there's that moment where they're in the car and she's like, what is this?
Yeah.
I love that. I love what is this? Mm-hmm. Because it feels like it's not like what happened, but it feels like this is your world. Like, what am I stepping into?
I know, like immediately after they actually like commiserate their love for each other.
He leaves her at the hospital. Mm-hmm. So this is the part of the movie where I'm like sometimes I like can't help but question like, is Lena too cool? Like,
Well, I mean, they're both kind of imperfect people. You know what I mean? I think that, to me, that's the way I see it. As like, yeah, maybe that is a little too forgiving for something like that.
yeah, to get in a car accident, you see your like this guy apparently doesn't know these people, and they go to the hospital and he just leaves her there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you don't probably hear from him for like a day or two. And he comes to your apartment with a fucking harmonium, and it's like you're like, where? What the hell's happening, dude? Again, like I said earlier, this I forgive it because the movie's more about like these big ideas and big themes.
Yeah.
But
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
but it's something that I can't help think about when I watch this movie.
I get that. I think I don't mind it as much because they plant it earlier that she's a little wacko
She's
too.
got some edge on her.
100%. Even when they were both like fooling around, how they're both fantasizing about their violent tendencies, how they're like, I want to gouge your eyes out and suck on them, and like weird shit like that. So she has like this kind of wild side to her, and I think it's implied that she's kind of attracted to that like unpredictability about him, like, oh, he has a dangerous side kind of thing.
She likes that, and she sees that in him.
Yeah, and again, it's not perfect. It's not really, maybe it's not the best setup for a relationship applied in reality, but the energy behind it is pure, in my opinion.
We didn't. God, I know we're getting to the ending, but I'm just thinking about the stuff that we didn't touch on before I get to the main mattress man confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
But the kiss scene.
Which one? Oh, when he looks for her apartment, frantically running up and down the stairs.
Speaking of yearning and everything, it's like, oh my God, that feeling like when he's about to walk out after the first date, he gets the phone call from her saying that she's like, I really wanted to kiss you just then. And the funniest shot of the movie is him like hurriedly
booking it down the hallway.
No, but it's specifically him getting out of the elevator and the way he's like right at that door. Do you remember how he's just like, yeah. Kind of ruffles out of there?
Yeah. I know.
But it's like, it's so, because it's for him, it's like, I can't fucking lose this.
Yeah. And it's frantic. It's like good writing because it's still exciting and, has conflict in it, right? He's looking for her and it's urgent for him and you know what's at stake for him. But music is still kind of whimsical. You know what I mean? It still feels like almost like the movie sees Barry as like endearing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It almost has this kind of Forrest Gumpy kind of kick to it.
And like Paul Thomas Anderson's been able to capture like that feeling so well throughout his filmography of someone just like looking for their person or chasing after someone. Like if he does that like often.
Well, even, I mean, Boogie Nights is about a guy finding family in very off-kilter ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He seems to have like that, he likes to those like unconventional scenarios of like, this isn't like a traditional style of storytelling.
Yeah. Just finding love and finding family in places that you wouldn't expect, because that is what happens in life very often.
Yeah.
Like you just don't expect it coming sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought about that, but yeah, Boogie Nights is that exactly.
100%. Yeah. That's the whole movie.
But the mattress man confrontation.
Yeah, so Barry drives all the way out to fucking Utah, or flies, or however he gets there.
Yeah,
he travels far.
We don't see him traveling. He just makes a phone call. He was just like a D&D mattress man, and then the lights kind of kind of just transitioned for him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just such a cool shot when he's just cutting his hair. Like,
yeah.
When the girl is cutting Philip Seymour Hoffman's hair, and he's like, ow, ow. And then the camera swivels when they're both looking at something you can't see, and it's him backlit like he's in a fucking Western.
Yeah. And then they get close up, like nose to nose, just shit talking each other, basically.
He's like, you're a fucking pervert. Fuck you. He's like, I'm a nice man. I've done anything wrong. He's like, I have a love in my life which gives me more strength than you can imagine.
Yeah.
So you better say that's that mattress man before I beat the hell out of you.
And then isn't that when he asked, like, you drove all the way out here to tell me that?
Call the cops? No. That's that.
Yeah, like, almost like a shared respect. We're like, all right, I guess.
But he tests him a little bit. He's just like, fuck you. What did I tell you?
Yeah,
that's that.
I know, it's a great moment.
That's that. I got you. Never mind.
Because he like had the phone and wrapped it around his knuckles too. Like he was ready to like fight him with the phone.
The touch I loved is that he ripped that phone off and then he never let go of it until he got to Utah.
I know.
Like,
So that's why I'm kind of theorizing that either he drove there.
but also, like, I think, yeah, he probably drove there. I'm not thinking. I don't think.
I don't think the movie really cares how he got there.
But
So.
what I kind of love about it is that, like, it's what I said earlier, is that Barry, like, can't ever process, like, what thought he should go at first, and that's expressed with the phone thing too. I don't have to. Putting the phone down is, like, not even in his head.
Yeah.
He just has to get there. So it's like it's in his hand still. Like, it feels like the sense of urgency again. And
It's very one-track minded. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's on a mission.
Like, the feeling of anxiety and loneliness and being overwhelmed expressed in this way, I just never seen it in a movie before.
What's funny is that Uncut Gems is also very overstimulating, as everyone knows, but it's done in such a completely different way. You know, it's like hyper cutting all the time, cameras frantic. Like, it kind of feels like you're in it with him.
And the power dynamic is a bit different for Howard in Uncut Gems versus Barry. I mean, obviously, but like it tackles that same thing. I mean, it's interesting because the Safdie brothers and Paul Thomas Anderson did this interview together for A24's podcast, where Paul Thomas Anderson interviewed the Safdie brothers. And, you know, they're both auteurs that have worked with Adam Sandler. So it was like a meeting point. And the Safdie brothers are huge Adam Sandler fans.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's obvious, but they talked to Paul Thomas Anderson about his filmmaking. They got really nerdy about it. And when you listen to the Safdie brothers talk, they talk like the characters talk in their movies. They talk over each other. Like, it's super chaotic. So you can see where it comes from.
Sure.
But I remember Josh Safdie told Paul Thomas Anderson, he's like, I just got to stop you right now because I know we're doing this great interview, but I just want to say that, like, I love your work. I'm such a huge fan of your work. And you've done all these great movies that I watched a lot. But the fact that you also made an Adam Sandler movie. He's like, you did that. You made Magnolia, you made There Will Be Blood, and there's these great pieces of work, but you made an Adam Sandler movie. That's really cool.
Yeah. You have that under your belt, too.
And you can tell the Safdie brothers, when they did Uncut Gems, they did it with that energy.
Yeah.
They were just like, we want to also make an Adam Sandler movie.
We want to treat the Sandman with respect.
Yeah. And also what's interesting is that Adam Sandler's comedy special on Netflix, 100% Fresh, highly recommend everyone go watch it. It's not what you think it is. It's very, like, conceptual in a way. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the comedy special that I didn't expect when it comes to, like, the way it's shot.
Sure.
Paul Thomas Anderson helped him film some of those bits.
Okay, wow, that's cool.
So they're still friends.
Yeah, they're still cool with each other.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, the mattress man, like, he has that confrontation. Now, again, the fantasy element of just, like, him coming all the way over there. This guy's a bit dangerous, but there's this feeling that I had where I was like, would the mattress man really just be like, all right, head out? But then I thought about what I was like, how I expressed both of them, which is they're these, like, sticks of dynamite. So they cancel each other out in a way too. There's this sense of just like, oh shit, didn't know you had that in you.
Like real recognize real.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, and also just from a practical sense, if you already beat the shit out of like 3 or 4 of his guys and he came all the way out there, like, is he worth the trouble for some money? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so at that point, it's kind of like, all right, just let it go. You
That's
know what I mean?
that.
Yeah, exactly. So
he comes back with the harmonium to Lena, apologizes to Lena, and then is extremely honest with her about everything.
Yeah.
Like, it takes 6 to 8 weeks to redeem those flyer miles for the pudding. So if you give me that much time, I'll go anywhere with you because I don't want to be anywhere without you. And he talks about how, like, he called this sex hotline. He, like, is completely open with her.
Yeah.
Kind of just like a fresh start, give it to me. And she's just like, you can't do that again. You can't leave me at the hospital. He's like, I'm sorry. They kiss. And then I'm interested in what you think of this final moment.
Yeah.
He's playing the harmonium in the warehouse. And now it's out in the open. What I like about it, it's not in the office anymore. It's just out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually didn't think too much about that.
He's fully, like, open with himself about it. And playing, she just walks in, hugs him from the back like it shows in this cover. Mm-hmm. And what does she say? She says, and here we go?
Something like that, yeah.
What's the final line? I want to look it up really quickly. Give me 1 second.
I think it's here we go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I looked it up. It's so here we go.
Okay.
What's that line mean to you?
At face value, I haven't looked too deep into it. Like I said, this is only my second time watching it, but I would say it's kind of implying that they have their whole lives ahead of them now, that they're kind of just putting themselves out there, you know?
It's the beginning of an adventure. I kind of look at it also as that she's kind of stepping into his world, which seems a little bit dicey, seems still a little bit dangerous. She's along for the journey. And it's kind of that feeling of like, okay, listen, I don't know what's going to happen here. You're a pretty weird guy, but let's do this.
But we're together on this.
And that's an interesting thing for a love story to do too, just because a lot of love stories, romantic comedies also are just like the best thing ever that could happen is we got together.
Yeah.
And now it's just going to be cake from here. And I like how there's this feeling of like, I don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, but that's reality, right?
But I'm with you. I found you. Let's see. It's kind of the let's see thing.
Yeah, I mean, all relationships are let's see. Whether people want to admit it or not, every time people get together, it's like, okay, let's see what happens.
And I think that's kind of what that final line is trying to do.
Yeah, well, it's from the point of view of someone who is clearly emotionally unstable. You know, is working on himself. He's trying. I think that's always the key that makes you have more hope than you would if they just plop themselves together.
And it doesn't seem like Barry's now a completely changed person and he's perfect, but
there's progress there. The fact that he's coming to terms with his behavior.
Yeah.
It shows that he's trying and he's being honest with himself about it.
Yeah, man, I'm glad we got to touch on an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, me too.
I'm trying to think of what would be a good next one, because there is like, we're doing the Happy Madison commentary tracks on Patreon, but if we had to pick like a Happy Madison movie that changed us, what would it be?
The Happy Madison movie that changed us. I would say probably between 50 First Dates. I do really enjoy that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Click. I watched the movie a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't fucking know.
For me, it would probably be between Big Daddy or Click.
Okay, fair enough.
Big Daddy was pretty big for me. It was like when I watched Big Daddy, I was like, I want to hang out with Adam Sandler.
It's the wish fulfillment thing of like, if Adam Sandler was your dad and he lets you wear whatever you want and, you know, skate in funny ways.
Adam Sandler's always had this cool uncle energy.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes Big Daddy work so well. And also I think the reason why Paul Thomas Anderson probably saw him in this and was like, I want a piece of him, is that he saw that Adam Sandler had all the things of like, he was really funny. He had this rage in him.
Yeah, he had range.
Range and rage.
Yeah.
But then also at the same time, you mentioned already, he had range. So like he could handle that courtroom scene at the end really well.
Yeah.
You know? The Sandman's great. Sandman for life. I don't care what anyone says. He's the fucking best. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much to our patrons for supporting us again and again. We really appreciate it. Last but not least, adoo-ba-doo.
Now, was that your attempt at the booyah thing, doing your own version of it?
I was trying to do the Adam Sandler, like, I love you.
Oh, got it. Okay. Like
Stay nice, dudes.